the Cable, we know being local means supporting our own, and our customers deserve the best. Our customers deserve platinum. So now, all customers of the Cable qualify for our new Platinum Loyalty Card. An elite MasterCard experience that lets you support your own like never before. Instantly send money to any Platinum Loyalty member at home or around the world. Shop online or in person anywhere MasterCard is accepted. Save with no interest and zero annual fees. And the best part? If you're a Cable customer, you are already pre-approved. Just visit the Cable building in Bastere or sign up online at www.thecable.net. Get your Platinum Loyalty Card today because you deserve platinum. Terms and conditions apply.
Insurance Company Limited, where you get more coverage for less.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly. People make the world go
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Win FM's Inside the News. Today we're having a special edition with Alarm Clock. That is a talk show focused on politics and governance issues in St. Kitts and Nevis, co-founded by Desi Brown and myself, your host today, Gian Williams. So we are in partnership with Win Media, SKN, hosting Alarm Clock today. So we are pleased and grateful for the facility that is open to us here at WinFM to bring this, fruitful, productive discussions to the general public. Hopefully conversation starters, hopefully things that will make you think, hopefully things that will make you agitate, because ultimately that is what we want. We want to agitate towards positive changes and development. So that is what Alarm Clock is really about, having those discussions. And of course, we will talk about things based on topical issues that are happening in St. Kitts and Nevis. So there's lots of things going on. If you ever want us to talk about a particular issue, you could just send us a note on our Alarm Clock Facebook page, or you can contact Desi Brown and myself. We're pretty easy to find, I think. Or you could just let WinFM know as well. But today is the first of a series of conversations about restructuring a post-COVID-19 economy. So this is a series that we're going to be doing over a period of 2 months. We're going to be having 3 discussions about, different facets of the economy, how we can restructure them, what do we need, certain considerations that need to be taken into account, about building a post-COVID-19 economy, because boy has COVID changed the way that we do business here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So today is the first of that series, and today we will be discussing the white economy. So the white economy refers to the digital economy. So we're going to be talking about e-business, doing business online, doing your transactions. I mean, how many of you downloaded apps to do business in COVID? All these different things. Are you happy with the direction? Do you think we need more in terms of supporting this economy? Is this something we should even be thinking about? So you'll be able to chime in as well later on in the show. Give us your thoughts. What do we need to develop the digital economy in St. Kitts and Nevis post-COVID-19? So it's not just me that will be babbling. This is not my area at all. But, I think that we have done a very good job at getting some panelists who this is definitely their area. So I know that they're very passionate about the digital economy and seeing St. Kitts and Nevis move towards more digital services. I can't even say digital, right? Digital services. But I think that we will get some good conversation out of them. So I will say good morning to our panelists, Janelle Lake. Janelle, if you want to say good morning so everybody can know you're actually here for real and we're not just calling your name. Bring your mic closer, Janelle. And we have John James.
Good morning. Good morning, Jan, and good morning to those in the listening and viewing public.
Don't you feel strange being on this side of a panel?
I'm very uncomfortable.
Don't worry, it's going to be over pretty soon. But you've been so involved in so much digital services and streaming and virtual experiences. We had to see what really goes on behind the scenes. So we look forward to you guys' contributions. And then we have none other. We cannot talk about the digital economy without Mr. Tishon Thomas. Good morning, Tishon. How are you?
Good morning, Jan, and good morning, everyone out there in the listening public.
Yes, quite a fervent advocate for the digital economy, for not just because of COVID, but for years and years. Tishon has been advocating for more integration of digital services. And then we have our Alarm Clock co-founder who's very passionate about this area and is going to bring the perspective of a business who has been affected by the digital environment and COVID-19. So we're going to hear about that from Miss Desi Brown. Good morning, Desi.
Good morning, darling, and good morning to everyone listening. I'm always happy to be here.
Yes. All right. So, guys, Desi, I know you're very passionate about this, so I really want you to set the framework. What exactly are we referring to when we talk about the digital economy?
Well, what a way to put me on the spot. And here I am thinking that we will have our guests actually try to help us to...
No, I mean, everybody else is going to chime in. Yes, so.
We support you, Desi.
I'm actually going to throw it back out. I'm throwing it back out, Gian, because I would like... I mean, they hear me a lot. I really want to hear...
So, Tishon, you've been the advocate.
Yes.
So tell us what you would really... What are we talking about when we talk about digital economy?
Okay, the digital economy is basically an economy that can operate without physical infrastructure. Where it's basically services, actually. So it's more services economy where even in a time like COVID-19 where everybody gets sent home, you are able to operate because things can be done digitally with actual proper social distancing, actually.
Right.
Miles and miles away.
Right.
Just as in
Countries away.
Countries
even
away.
sometimes too.
But what it highlights, though, when you move into digital economy, is your IT infrastructure, because then it weighs on it more. Because you go from grouping to individuals. So you go from having a conference room with 200 people to having 200 individual connections. And all of a sudden, your digital economy is now putting strain on your physical infrastructure.
I see. So we see particularly why this would become, it really raised the priority level for digital services in light of COVID-19, where we had to socially distance and some people had to work from home. But what did you guys see before COVID-19 in relation to digital services? What was the environment like? What was the attitude of people generally to digital services in St. Kitts and Nevis? Your opinions.
Okay. Personally, well, me being
Yeah, go
in,
ahead,
the,
Tishan.
in the business environment, I see there was a little hesitance to go in digital, especially things in the cloud. People saying, oh, it's in the cloud, it's going to get hacked. We don't trust that it's not here. And those type of stuff that, so the technology to take advantage of the digital economy has always been there. And we've been trying to get businesses to go in that direction, but there's a lot, the owners of businesses are still old school. And when they don't understand something, they tend to like, look, this is my money, I'm still making money, it's working, keep it this way.
Right.
So until something like this, where it actually touches the pocket, and they say, oh, what did you say again?
So you guys find you've been having a lot of that. What you were saying again? What you say about this?
I find that.
Yeah, I agree with Tishan. I mean, I think a lot of the technology was underutilized pre-COVID, and I could argue that the technology is still underutilized there. I could argue that.
Still is.
But I think the opinions of the wider public, the general public, have changed where technology is concerned. It used to be a time where I could recall hearing people say, you don't want your children to be too caught up in the latest technology because it would affect their attention span and it leads to poor reading skills. I can't really recall all of the lamentations in that regard because I myself paid them scant regard because I knew the virtue and the value that technology could bring. But definitely technology was underutilized. I agree with Tishan, it was underutilized prior to COVID, and a bad wind never blows, and you should never allow, how does the saying go? You should always try to take advantage of the opportunities presented in disaster. I can't remember the wording.
No, you never let a good problem go to waste.
Let a good problem go to waste. And so I think we have gotten to the place now where people's eyes have opened up to the virtues of technology. And people are now beginning to dabble more into technology and lean on the technology that is available to them. And I don't want to, seem to be celebrating COVID, but, I thank COVID for doing this because, as Tishan said, we've been trying to introduce people to technology. We've been trying to preach the virtues of technology for the longest, but it didn't take, our voices alone couldn't do it.
Yes.
It took COVID to come along and for us to be ordered to shelter in place.
It's a mighty dollar.
Yes,
mighty dollar.
yes.
Well, in my opinion, there's been a gradual transformation, a gradual digital transformation happening even before COVID. The way we communicate, the way we interact with each other, whether it's on work, socially, it has been changing from physical to digital. If you think about prior COVID, we had tools that were utilized, not as fully as they should have, but I think because of that gradual transformation that was in play, some of the tools were able to just hit the ground running and be able to provide digital solutions that we now so accustomed to after a year being working remotely and interacting via Zoom and Skype and those kind of things. So I feel a little bit different in that I think COVID simply just gave the movement a push, but it was heading towards that direction all the while. So I think right now, the virtual or digital experience, the virtual economy, I hear people talking about the new norm, but I think it is the norm, right? I think that is something that we have to now sort of adapt. And as you said, Tishan, kind of build out the infrastructure that needs to be in place to kind of facilitate this kind of movement.
I would give my perspective, especially considering that I think when I started my business in 2016, a lot of persons used to ask me for things like, please for physical form to complete for enrollment in dance classes. And in 2016, in 2015, when I was getting Poise Scan's plans together, I would have already noted that I wanted a no paper policy. And so I integrated as much as possible a lot of the technological features of the cloud and all these things into Poise Scan. So when we first started, persons had to go online to complete forms. So I utilized Google Forms at that point. And then for payments, I actually would have tried as much as possible to try to get everything done online. But there was so much hesitance about completing transactions online. Persons would not want to or did not use cards as often as well right now. We've been able to get persons, so we would send through email, because I use email a lot, instead of printing letters, because it really costs a lot more to be able to print. And people would be like, you need to print the letters because I don't check my emails. And I would be like, wow, it is 2016, guys. You need to be checking your email. And this is something that's supposed to be a part of our life. No, I went to university and they would communicate with us via email, and we would have to use an online platform, right? And it would be really weird if I was coming back to St. Kitts and saying, let's go back to the manual way of doing things, keeping everything on, in a book or something like that. And I've been able to by now, because we've been, after COVID, I would have done a lot of mobilization in revamping the way in which I had everything all over. Like I was using MailChimp, I was using Google Forms, and then I decided to integrate everything into my website. One website now, which has now a portal. Still have my challenges, because there's still persons who say, I didn't get this information, but it is available on the portal, or you do get it via email and messages. You can pay your fees online, but we still have persons who prefer to come and, physically give us cash and these kind of things, because they still don't trust these platforms. But we're getting there. We're using the platform to give people information about what to wear and so forth, so they're not now getting messages from me with pictures of schedule and these kind of things. And I see that a lot of persons are now opening up a lot more to the fact that it is very convenient. Like, I don't need to see you for us to conduct business all the time. Let's just do this thing online. So I've seen that transition over the past 5 years. It was a challenge, but we're getting there.
So I just want to marry something that Tishan and Desi just said. So Tishan said one of the things that a digital economy depends on is infrastructure, right? And in Desi's case, the example Desi just cited, she made the infrastructure work for her. The infrastructure was available for Poise SKN. And here it is, the digital skills, the skill sets, or the trust in the infrastructure was lacking. So in order for a digital economy to work, there must be trust in the digital economy, as well as we need to have the digital skills to make best use of the digital economy. And what you cited there is one of the areas that needs to be addressed as it relates to digital economy, to the digital economy, at least from where I sit. I find that for a lot of our populace, there is a lack of basic digital skills. And so it makes us, because it's unfamiliar to us, it makes us uncomfortable. And this is just to do simple things, like, as you mentioned, just checking your email, you know, not to go to the level of transacting online. That's the next step. But the first step is just being able to communicate via email. Our distance from that, I mean, I like to say that we're doing a lot better now, post-COVID, not post, but mid-COVID. But we are definitely coming from a place where digital skills and digital literacy needs work.
But actually, Janelle, before we get any deeper into that conversation, I think sometimes we take for granted, you know, I've heard each of you advocate for digital economy, but just for the listeners who don't know from where you sit, you know, give us some background about what you do and why you end up being so passionate about it, so people understand who this panel is a little better.
Right, and that reminds me, I was supposed to put a disclaimer out there that while I am employed by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, my views are my own and they do not represent nor reflect the views of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. So yes, I am employed by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. I originally cut my teeth in technology, but I have since transitioned to cybersecurity. But technology, of course, cybersecurity, of course, cannot exist without technology. And so I'm here to speak on all matters of technology, everything that falls under the umbrella of technology today.
How long have you been in this field?
Almost 10 years.
Okay.
And I'm not counting my years away at school because those don't count. That's just, you know, you could change your mind along the way and do something entirely different.
Okay.
But this is in the field. I've been in here 10 years.
Okay, so we have someone who's versed in cybersecurity, technology. Good. All right, John. What about you? I think people know you, but they don't know it's you.
I agree. You know, could I just interject here? May I just interject here to say that I am in awe of this man, the man that I knew that I didn't know I knew, and I want to celebrate him. I don't know if he wants me to celebrate him because he's very modest. But John James, give us your introduction, please.
do I have to say how much he is?
You could give us a ballpark.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So my name is John James, aka the Webmaster. I'm a certified technologist. I've been in the business for about 20 years. So I have about 20 years experience in information communications and technology. I could recall, I was here thinking about it, that when I got involved in IT, I was in high school, and we were the first batch of students who did CXC IT.
Really?
That was, I don't want to say when.
Don't
it made me so old.
Don't say.
Oh,
But
please,
anyways,
there are people older than you. That's the comfort.
But yeah, so I've for my entire professional life, I've been involved in some facet of ICT. I currently own 2 digital solution companies. One that provides application solutions for any level of business, from small to government. And the second one provides media support for media companies and content creators. So, you know, I've been around. I originally have been a programmer, so I still feel like I'm a programmer. But, you know, I dabble more in the technologist consultancy and at the moment.
Can you tell us a bit of your project so that, you know, it feels a bit more real?
Yeah,
so
sure.
people get an idea.
So from the application development standpoint, we've built out applications for governments. We've built out applications for online banking, online payment solutions, electronic form solutions, transforming physical processes over to digital. So, you know, a lot of the stuff that I do is more on the digital transformation end of it, where we're looking at stuff that we're accustomed to do physically, and we kind of find a digital solution for it. From the media aspect, we're looking at, again, at digital transformation, transferring from analog to digital. So whether it is in the recommendations for digital equipment or the incorporation of live streaming, pay-per-view, video on demand, those kind of things.
Okay. Lots of stuff. I think people have used your services and don't even know that they've been using your services.
Yes, that's
I have
right.
realized this, Gian. I realized
John
this
is
today.
everywhere.
I realized this today.
What about you, Tishan?
Well, hey everyone, I'm Tishan Thomas,
The
owner
Tishan Thomas.
and co-founder with Winston Martin of SK90 Solutions. And I just call myself a computer guy. But really and truly what we do business solutions. And business solutions in all the range, except for application development. So we start from your business infrastructure where we get your physical plans and we design your data or your infrastructure network for your buildings. We implement it. We design it, implement it, include budgeting and cost and all of that. And then we install it and then manage it. So think of us as an IT department. This is what we do. We have an IT department and an IT project management. So we do a lot of CCTV, we do gate systems, home automation systems. We also do web hosting, email hosting for lots of companies here, websites and things that we do. So we do anything digitally. Our next role is to do application development. And we do a lot of cloud technology and cybersecurity too, for businesses of all sizes except government. We're mostly private sector focused.
Okay, sure.
Definitely.
All right.
So I don't want to cut you off, Gian, but I just want to say that Tishan is being modest as well. I also revere Tishan. Tishan, you remember maybe a year ago when I reached out to you to tell you, Tishan, I just heard the Secretary of State of the U.S. call you by name, this son of the soil, this technology expert of ours in our small federation, call you by name in an address. Now, I don't remember what the address was.
Yeah.
I just know I was
He
listening.
was speaking about to the entire Caribbean, and he ended his speech
with a mention of the Tishan Thomas. So when I say the Tishan Thomas, this is what I'm talking about. This man is a celebrity. Imagine the U.S. Secretary of State at the time calling Tishan by name in an address. If that is not, just world class, I don't know what it is.
You just needed a president, no.
Yes.
President, no.
Well, I do have a certificate signed by Obama.
There you go.
All right. And Desis, give us a synopsis of your business so people understand how the digital services helped.
All right, I'm Desi Brown, as some of you know, and the business that I am going to be talking about a lot here today is Poise Scan. It's actually a multidiscipline company that delivers services in dance and pageantry and promotional marketing. Heavier on the dance elements, we were able to do a lot of integration of technology into delivering some of these services and somewhat to transform the lives and the idea of delivering convenient business. And so I'm here to talk about, hopefully, a little bit more about how we could integrate technology into delivering services, and not just to deliver services, but to be effective, to save money and save time a lot for regular business individuals. Well, I don't consider business people regular, but you know what I mean. And kind of give it a little less on the heavy technological term side, so we're going layman's today so that we could get people comfortable with the ideas that are being spewed around in here today, especially as it relates to utilizing these services that should be or would be and have been being integrated into a lot of our spaces, and letting you know that it's cool, it's safe, and there are people out there who are doing good work to help us to move forward, and it's necessary.
So did you actually have virtual dance classes and things like that
Yes, we
during
did.
the lockdown?
Yes, we did. So what we did, so let me say what happened. When I really started my business, I built my website myself, and it took me until COVID when I realized I needed to revamp everything and, reinvent ourselves and how we looked online, to be able to appeal to individuals to use the website, because people didn't use the website a lot. And so what I did was I was able to think up, create a plan, an idea, full draft idea of what I wanted to see Poise SKN feel like, because I wasn't able to meet with my students. I wasn't able to see my tutors and everything. And it was really difficult being able to send out information for each class. So what we did was create an online portal, which I now call the Parent Teacher Student Portal, PTS, so that we could be able to connect in all three areas. So I talk to my parents a lot, and I don't get to speak to my students, and I don't always get to stay in touch with my teachers. We were able to build out that portal almost like an online school. Well, not almost like it is. It is a dance school, and so we operate the online system as a school. So there are sections that when you get to the homepage, there's a whole message board, right? You get information about what's happening. We're actually currently working on creating a, I'm sorry, but my nose is doing something here. We're currently working on allowing, when I create a message, that they receive notifications through our application, because now the website could be saved to the home screen and actually functions as an app on the phone. So we didn't build a separate app for the website, but that's how it functions right now. And then persons could get access to a curriculum. So we didn't have a structured curriculum per se. We would teach, we would have things that we want them to learn in each class and so forth. And know that now parents could actually go on and get access to videos and notes and images and all these nice things, so that they could be able to assist their the children to develop better in dance.
What's the response been like?
Very good. It has been very, very good, because we've also been able to give them more information than what they're accustomed to receive. So the students would be the ones going home and saying, this is what I learned in dance class, but the parents could actually now double check what they're learning in dance class, because we're posting this stuff on the curriculum section, and it has been improving the skill level tremendously, because they're now practicing at home.
So
and
you could play back
Yes.
a dance and
yes, all
practice
these
at
things.
home.
And all the technique and all the terms that they need to know. We actually, since we did that, we were able to have, for the first time, first term exams. And our first term exams were actually done online as well. So the theory exams were done online. They were able to not have to print papers and sit in class. They were able to stay at home and do their multiple choice things and get their grades and everything. So it has helped a lot, and we've seen the development of the students improve tremendously, having access to this information from home as well. Teachers now have a teacher resource section, so if I want them to know something and be able to transfer information to students, they have access to that. We record students' attendance online, so it automatically updates the parents' portals and the students' portals to tell them if they were present or if they were late, and their attendance rate is recorded. So they get to see that. They get to pay their fees online as well. They get to see if fees are due, when fees are coming due, it actually tells them. It gives them information on if late fees are accumulated, and so forth. There's so many elements. We have schedules. We have there are lots of elements integrated.
It definitely sounds like you have a one-stop shop where they have access to everything.
Everything.
Now, John and Tishan in particular, I would really like for a business person who's listening, like a business owner who's listening, to understand what would be needed to move your business from that physical, collect everything on paper, in hand, from that physical environment to the digital environment. Like, what sorts of questions would you ask, or what sorts of information would you need from somebody who's thinking about making that transition?
This sounds like John area.
So it actually starts with infrastructure, which is the foundation of any digital solution. One of the things that I've noticed from a business perspective is that a lot of businesses notice that they do need to go digital, but they wouldn't necessarily understand what needs to be done to go digital. So with digital solutions, infrastructure is paramount. And in this age, being able to have those solutions not only being digital, but also being accessible online is paramount.
So what do you mean by infrastructure?
So, Tishan, now you can
Infrastructure
take
now
over.
is- Okay, so your IT infrastructure is, for example, you have a building, and most people, you have everything now is our internet connected. So to need to have connectivity anywhere and everywhere
In your business.
in the business. So
Okay.
you need those data ports you see when you go to a building that you plug in the phone to or you plug your computer into. That needs to be everywhere because you buy a fridge, it's connected to the internet. You buy a TV, it needs internet. You need to have strong Wi-Fi everywhere. So, you may go in some businesses or some houses and they're like, oh, the Wi-Fi is not strong in this room. I need to go over, go closer there. If you build out your infrastructure properly, you resolve all of those issues. And that is what we do.
So
at
that's
SKNIT
that's
Solutions.
you. Okay,
Yeah,
got you.
that's what we do. We come in, we do a full assessment. We said, look, this is what you need. This is what we're trying to achieve. Full connectivity everywhere,
Anywhere.
redundancy. So internet access and internet is now like water. Just imagine what happens
It's
when
a
water
basic
goes.
human need.
Yes.
Yes.
So really, we like one of the things we do in Take It for a lot of our clients is actually have every of our business customer. We recommend having 2 ISPs, for example, 2 internet connections from 2
For
separate
redundancy.
companies for redundancy.
Yeah.
Because companies have problems and you never know when. So we have we could institute a load balancer that even if one internet go down, you
have
don't
the-
even know.
Yeah,
It
right.
just switches automatically
that
and you're
support.
always online.
Okay.
You're always online, you're always connected because people are trying to get to you and your services. And your people in your business is also trying to get out. And time is money.
Right. Okay, so
Right.
back to John now.
Right.
Yes.
So
Yes.
once you have the infrastructure in place, then you're looking at from the application level. One of the biggest thing that is necessary is cultural change, because we're accustomed to the normal 8 to 4 or 9 to 5 as we call it, online or digital business 24/7. I can remember doing some consultation with a company that wanted to move their billing system to online. And one of the things that we spent maybe about an hour and a half talking about is the fact that person's going to be able to pay their bill 24/7, And it so happened that when we did the assessment 3 months after launching, we noticed that persons paid the bill between 12 midnight and like 7 o'clock in the morning. I have no idea why, but
Money guy, you can't sleep.
It happens to me too.
Yeah.
Money can't, you can't sleep. You may as well pay the bills.
right. But it shows that you have to first change your business culture to understand that businesses, especially the online or digital solutions, run 24/7. So your business now moves from a 8 to 4 to a 24/7. But the building out the application is really just converting what you're doing in your physical structure to find an adaptable or a digital solution that becomes pretty much seamless to the person. So whether they go into your store physically or they do it online, it's a process that is pretty much seamless.
I want to say here that there's a term that a lot of entrepreneurs think about when they are young people, or even older persons. They want to make money while they're sleeping. This is
Yes.
the way to do it.
Indeed,
I
it
am,
is.
I am like, I remember, I think one of the things that I did during COVID, the lockdowns that actually caused me to accelerate the process of revamping or reinventing my business was reading a book called You Are a Bad ASS at Making Money, right? And one of the first chapter in the book talks about creating an online business. And I didn't read anything past creating an online business because it was like, I already have a business. I just need to make my business more online, right, accessible online. And you've always got that trend. A lot of persons were talking about how you can make money during this lockdown thing. And I was like, a lot of people don't realize that they have it already, but they just need to utilize technology to be able to make that money while they're sleeping. So you're sleeping, people are ordering things, you're sleeping, people are paying bills, and it works if you are able to access create an infrastructure in your space to be able to add the infrastructure to be able to power that economic growth that you need to be able to pay bills faster, get your turnover of stock faster, and these things. It happens online. If you are making yourself accessible online, people are more likely to engage with your business because they go like, oh, I could do this at any time. I could access this information at any time. So I'll be able to go online and do it later instead of walking down in town and having to go through traffic and can't find parking and all these things. Especially if now you want to set up your office from home and you're based in Sandy Point. Come on. There are ways around being able to make money. And I think John said it, you just need to integrate the elements and improve the way in which you conduct business by going online.
I'm curious. Maybe John and Tishon again. The demographic that you see most open to this, is it usually younger people? I'm thinking so, but
Yeah, for sure. That's the other point I was going to make. Before there was a challenge, but I think now we have like the Generation X and Z that are coming on stream and utilizing a lot of these services with a totally different mentality because they grew up with technology, right? Like back in the day, I can remember like when I went to high school and stuff. I didn't have access to a laptop. I didn't have access to a mobile phone, right? So you have this generational shift that these persons they literally was born into technology, and so they're more open to these kind of things. And those are the persons that are now parents and some grandparents, and so they're open to the digital economy. So that's one of the recommendations that I make as well, because businesses sometimes have this fear that the digital solutions that they provide would not kick off or whatever the case may be. But in most cases we found that it's does way better than we think.
So then I guess that means we're going to have to spend some time thinking about how to encourage the older generations to come on board. And I think as Tishan,
I think it's there, but as the younger generations buy into it, then their parents have no choice, right? For example, if I decide that we can pay internet bill online, my parents don't have a choice but to adapt to it, right? And I think again the Generation X and Z are the driving force behind the push for the digital transformation.
I have a mother that insists on seeing a paper bill. Still, like the bill is being paid. I need to see the bill. I need to make sure that there's still that need to have that physical thing in your hand.
How I do it? I mean, because a lot of owners of businesses are still of the older generation.
Yes,
it's really show them money. You have to show them return on investment.
Show them results. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to be able to say, okay, if you invest this amount of money, here's going to be a result. And that's what John was saying, is that a lot of them are ambivalent because they don't understand how easy it is. Actually, you reduce all of your costs and increase your revenue so much. Well, it's only when they've already made the step, but they're ambivalent about taking it. So a lot of times, how we do it in SK and IT Solutions is we say, hey, we've done this for such and such a company, and this is what happened.
Well, I guess that's the examples people need.
Yes.
But Janelle, I know cybersecurity now, I know that's a big concern. So what sorts of information have you perhaps offered to convince people that, the safest steps are being taken?
Well, before she starts, I was actually just about to make that point that once the system is in place, I was trying to that the security becomes paramount, and I think one of the things that we feel, especially in the Caribbean islands, is that we feel as though that because we are in this small little corner of the world,
Nobody can do us anything.
yeah, that we're not open to the elements. But I mean, you're literally accessing the World Wide Web. All of our phones right now have data. We're accessing the World Wide Web. We are open to all of the threats that are out there. And so I think, she'll be able to speak a little bit more to that. But cybersecurity is paramount once you've looked at implementation of a digital solution.
Right, absolutely. And you touched on it, John. I mean, as soon as you connect online, the world becomes a really small place. St. Kitts may as well be neighboring Russia, once you're online. As it relates to cybersecurity, some of the best guidance that I could give is as it relates to implementing digital tools and digital platforms. If you are not familiar, if you are not experienced in doing that, it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It means you should employ the likes of a Tishon or a John to make sure that you do it and you do it well. I just want to make the point here, in terms of doing it well, that it fails even the best of us. I could recall seeing Jam COVID. I don't know if anybody saw this in the news. It was an online platform that the Jamaican government had been using to collect the necessary COVID-related information and immigration information for travelers to the island. I recall hearing that the CEO had boasted that they spun up this platform in 3 days, and he was really celebrating that.
I remember that.
And then very shortly thereafter, there was a data breach, and this very confidential immigration and COVID-related information for Jamaicans and non-Jamaicans alike was exposed to the wider world. And the sad part, the unfortunate part, is that it was not as a result of an attack per se. So it was not to say that they had the very best of cybersecurity in place. It was just a breach because of poor configuration. At least, let me say, this is based on what I read.
Sloppy work.
Yeah. So it's not to say, I'm not saying that to say that one should shy away from technology. It goes to the point about using technology and what's available digitally to the very best of its abilities. So it doesn't mean, going digital doesn't mean just spinning up a $2 web presence just for the purpose of doing so, especially if you know that that web presence would be collecting sensitive information for your citizenry. You have a responsibility to ensure that this platform is secured, at least according to industry best standards. And having done that, and if you can't do that on your own, then we have the expertise on island in the diaspora to assist us in that regard. And having done that, it doesn't stop there. It is an ongoing thing. Just like technology is an ongoing thing and technology is ever changing, cybersecurity as well is ever changing. So it doesn't make sense for you to put the very best in terms of cybersecurity in place and then you yourself observe poor cyber practices.
Right.
So it means if you're using cloud platforms, and I know you mentioned that you use cloud platforms, Desi. If you're using cloud platforms, you want to make sure that, let's just remember the cloud is just a cute name for someone else's computer. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah.
And so,
That's a very easy way to think about it.
Yeah. We speak all cute about cloud, and don't get me wrong, I'm not calling on the virtues and the values of cloud because it has a place and it's very useful. But you have to know what you're doing with the cloud, and you have to know how to secure yourself in your use of the cloud. And one of the best ways you could do that, in addition to making sure that all of the necessary security configurations are in place, you want to make sure that you set up multi-factor authentication and you observe good cyber practices where your passwords are concerned.
Backups.
Yeah.
And backups, of course.
Some of these cloud services also offer encryption services
And they
as
also
well.
offer encryption
Yeah.
services. So I would say, as it relates to the cloud, which is so prevalent now in this COVID era, you want to make sure that your cloud service of choice checks some very basic boxes along the lines of cybersecurity. It must allow you to use multi-factor authentication. It must allow for encryption. It must allow for complex passwords. These are just some of the basic cybersecurity boxes that must be checked. in order for you to know that this cloud service, this cloud platform is secure enough for your benefit. Some other things to take on board as relates to cybersecurity have to do with your own practices. It makes no sense for you to put all of this in place as relates to put all these digital platforms in place. It makes no sense for you to pay a Tishan or John to come and give you the best that the industry could offer. If you then take your password and reuse it everywhere, reuse it on every single platform, just multiplying your exposure by 1,000. So some basic cyber practices need to be put in place as we embrace digital, because it's not just enough to spin up a digital platform and to use it, but you have a responsibility to yourself and to your customers to ensure that it is as secure as it could be to avoid any unnecessary and unwanted exposure.
Well, just to add to the security bit, most of that was mentioned was on the infrastructure hardware side. There's also software level infrastructure and
what do you mean
security.
by that?
Yeah,
what do you refer to?
Right. So we're talking about SSL certification, which is secure socket layer, which is ensuring that the communications that happen on the application level is secure. If you're accepting payments online, then you need to have some PCI compliance, which is payment card industry compliance, which is pretty much a check against your application that runs very frequently to ensure that there's no areas that can be penetrated by hackers. These are things that is actually recommended from the payment industry. So you're looking at Visa and MasterCard. Those are things that are required when you're looking at having payments online.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, to go a little further into PCI compliance.
In 1 minute.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Because, I have a lot of experience with from working for the Marriott. Is really to ensure, when you pay online, you're not supposed to store people payment information in plain text, so that when data is breached and they get your
somebody
file,
gone with your whole credit card number.
Yeah. So it's not even supposed to be stored, so that even if you got breached, that is unusable information.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we've really touched on quite a bit in the first hour, and I'm hoping that persons have questions or you have comments that you can you can call in and share with us, because we really want to know about St. Kitts and Nevis progressing as a digital economy. I think many people have embraced it, or more people have embraced it, and businesses are embracing it. But what if we could do it all digitally? So we're gonna test our readiness, and I'm gonna ask our panelists to consider what grade would you give us now in terms of our readiness for a digital economy. We could use the on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being nowhere near ready, 10 being let's do this, we could do this today. So think about that for when we come back after the midday break and the news, and we will be back with Alarm Clock in partnership with Win Media SKN on Inside the News. We'll be back at 12:30.
You found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, and Carib Brewery.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs, and make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, Dalil Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
With the WIN Headline News, I am Kevon Brown.
And I am Devon Cornelius.
Making the headlines, PM Harris on St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Cabinet will be a good Samaritan. An update on the La Soufriere volcano in SVG. St. Lucia has received its first batch of 24,000 Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine doses under the COVAX facility. Internationally, the U.S. is considering a conditional cash transfer program to help address economic woes that lead migrants from certain Central American countries to trek north, a senior White House official told Reuters. Now, the details. Party leader Sean Richards and other executives of the People's Action Movement are up for re-election Sunday, April 11th, hours before the party's convention is held in Sandy Point. Pam won 4 seats in the 2015 general election, commanding the majority of seats in the victorious Team Unity coalition. The fledgling People's Labour Party won 1 seat and the Concerned Citizens Movement won 2, and by prior agreement, the PLP leader, Dr. Timothy Harris, received the support of his colleagues and was sworn in as Prime Minister. In 2019, Pam won 3 seats, PLP 2 and the CCM 3. By agreement, Dr. Harris received support for a second term as Prime Minister, with the understanding that he would demit office after 2 terms and make way for the leader of the People's Action Movement to be supported for Prime Minister if the coalition wins a 3rd term in office at the next general election, constitutionally due in 2024. This recent report, aired on Carib Update, chronicles some of the debate.
We are looking at the theme of preparing now for the future. I have made it abundantly clear that whenever the next election is called, which is constitutionally due by the year 2025, that my intention is to be the next Prime Minister of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Richards has been the Deputy Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis since the coalition first came into office. He tells Carib Update News that his leadership projection is based on an initial understanding with the coalition partners.
In the year 2015, when we decided to enter the coalition, the agreement then was that term limits would be introduced. That is, that the Prime Minister would serve for 2 terms. And after that, we expect someone else to become a Prime Minister. While that particular piece of legislation did go to Parliament, and at the time it was defeated because the government side then didn't have sufficient votes for the legislation to pass successfully. The opposition voted against it. I fully expect that the 3 parties would still abide by that particular agreement. While I stand committed to team unity, I also stand committed to that agreement that we would have signed prior to the elections of 2015, commonly referred to as the Charlestown Accord.
Only 2 weeks ago, during the convention of one of the coalition's partners, a guest speaker at Prime Minister Timothy Harris's People's Labour Party convention, Trinidadian Dr. Sharon Gopal McNichol, suggested to Applause that he renege on the understanding.
And this is why, Dr. Harris, I have to ask you now, you got to not be so rigidly constrained in this position of the 2-term beyond the 2-term. I get it. I get this business of loyalty and the business of honoring your word, but I need you to consider that.
But on Wednesday, Richard suggested to Carib Update that he is confident the understanding will hold.
Since the election of 2020, there were some informal discussions relative to the agreement. We have still spoken as a cabinet about the need to implement that particular piece of legislation. It also means, though, that since the legislation hasn't been put into effect, that of course more discussions are needed to ensure that that agreement, which one made prior to the elections of 2015 during the formation of a team unity, that persons still abide by it.
St. Kitts and Nevis and other Caribbean countries are pledging to stand with St. Vincent and the Grenadines as that country grapples with the eruption of the La Soufriere volcano in the north of St. Vincent. The National Disaster Mitigation Council met Friday, April 9th, to discuss options. Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris reported that he was informed that 12,000 people were to be evacuated, but St. Vincent and the Grenadines only had capacity for 5,000 in shelters, so 7,000 people would have to find shelter in other countries or on cruise ships. Another 8,000 people could find accommodations with family and friends in St. Vincent, Dr. Harris said. He said options included assisting with material resources like cots, blankets, and water tanks, and displaced persons would be tested for COVID-19 and inoculated. Quote, Cabinet is committed. Cabinet will be a good Samaritan on this particular effort. We want to be our brother's keeper and our sister's keeper too, but we have to do it in the most efficient way, Prime Minister Harris assured. In the coming days, the National Disaster Mitigation Council, with collaboration from the private and the public sector, will finalize concretely what assistance will be offered to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. End quote. Ashes from the La Soufriere volcanic eruption in St. Vincent darkened the skies over the country and neighboring islands like Barbados, but there were no reports of injuries. Here is an excerpt from Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves' report Saturday morning, April 10th.
I have to report that we have been doing work with all the governments in the region. I know, for instance, that the supply chain out of the president of Guyana has been in touch with me quite often. They're loading a ship to send a lot of supplies. He told me at a meeting last evening with the yesterday afternoon evening with the private sector in Guyana. They have opened a special account asking for private sector donations for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. There are a number of corporate entities. Camilo told me, for instance, that Digicel called in, volunteering a particular donation. A plane should have come yesterday from Venezuela with a lot of supplies. But because the airspace was closed, because of the ash, because the airspace would be open to receive emergency supplies and the like. But if it's very heavy, if there's a lot of dust, it doesn't make any sense you risk that, so that a vessel is coming on Monday from Venezuela. I think the vessel is leaving today from Venezuela and would reach here on Monday with supplies. I've had discussions with the foreign minister from Cuba. I've had discussions with our American friends, the prime ministers across the region. We are in touch every day. During the course of the day, more than once. Yesterday morning at 7 o'clock, I had set up a telephone appointment, 7 o'clock our time in the morning, with the foreign minister of the Republic of China, Taiwan, because I had set it up before because I wanted to talk to them about our solidarity with the Taiwanese people on the occasion of the accident where 50 persons died and nearly 200 are injured, some of them seriously. I'd sent messages already and I'd written a letter to the president of Taiwan, but I wanted to talk to them personally because this is a big matter. And of course, in the interim, the volcano erupted and explosively, and they're very concerned about that, and they've pledged support very much for the reconstruction, the rehabilitation which would come afterwards. We've been in touch with the World Bank, various different agencies. I don't want to give you all the details, but we are not only preparing for now and doing things for now, but we have to do for the future.
Meanwhile, the St. Vincent and the Grenadines National Emergency Management Organization Saturday issued several public advisories for people living away from the danger zone. Vincentians living in the southern area of St. Vincent were warned to stay indoors as ash from La Soufrière continued to billow in the air miles from the volcano's location on the northern side of the island. Quote, "We are covered in ash and strong sulfur scents pervade the air. For those with respiratory problems, we ask that you take the necessary precautions to remain safe and healthy." Now that the La Soufrière volcano has begun erupting explosively, ash falls will soon overwhelm us. Be sure to get rid of or clean up the ash soon after it falls. If rain falls, the ash can harden and pose a danger to you. End quote. The University of the West Indies Seismic Unit prepared an update on the La Soufrière volcano at around 9 a.m. on April 10th. The tremor generated by energetic venting of La Soufrière St. Vincent continued overnight. The size of the tremor peaked between 8 p.m. and midnight on April 9th and slowly declined over the next few hours. There were some periods of increased amplitude during the decline associated with pulses in ash venting. A small number of volcano-tectonic long-period and hybrid earthquakes have been recorded during the tremor. Audible rumblings accompanied with ash venting occurred throughout most of the night, with ashfall reported throughout St. Vincent and some areas in Barbados. The volcano has entered an explosive eruptive phase that may continue over the next few days and weeks. Explosions are expected to be similar or larger in magnitude. St. Lucia has received its first batch of 24,000 Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine doses under the COVAX facility, HDS St. Lucia reports.
The much-anticipated arrival of St. Lucia's first consignment of vaccines under the COVAX program touched down Wednesday at Uranura International Airport. Leading government officials were on hand to welcome what is being viewed as a watershed moment in St. Lucia's campaign to get the COVID-19 crisis under control. The COVAX facility, which is funded by some of the world's leading nations, seeks to sponsor the vaccination of 20% of developing nations' populations. St. Lucia's immunization manager, Tekla John Baptist, welcomed the batch of some 24,000 doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine.
St. Lucia, as a member of the COVAX facility, will have the benefit of accessing safe and effective vaccines to cover 20% of its population. Today, we received 24,000 doses of this allocation. As we transition into phase 2 of the national campaign, this first tranche will allow us to vaccinate approximately 6.6% of the population, and that's with 2 doses. This will be part of the national effort to build immunity against the COVID-19 virus and also strengthen public health strategies to manage this pandemic. Remember, we are all in this together. No one is safe until we are all safe.
Prime Minister Alan Chastanet, speaking at Wednesday's ceremony, said the significance of the occasion should not be lost. He says the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the lives of so many people is profound.
Too many people have had to make a significant sacrifice during this crisis. And again, I don't want to ever take it for granted what they've gone through. Very difficult time. And certainly being able to get income back into households where persons right now, I think, are in survival mode. I don't think anybody's talking about using these monies to buy a home or to move on, but we're all just bracing ourselves and surviving it. But I'm really hoping that within the next couple of months, that solutions will be encouraged by a lot of the work that has been taking place behind the scenes. The Ministry of Tourism, along with the Ministry of Infrastructure, have worked very hard to get airlines to fly back to St. Lucia. So one of the benefits of never closing our borders has been the confidence that we have developed with those airlines. So we actually have more airlift coming into St. Lucia between July of this year until December than we had in July of December of 2019.
The British government has played a leading role in the COVAX facility, which has as its goal the more equitable distribution of the vaccine, ensuring that poorer nations are not left out in the effort to protect their populations during this pandemic. The acting British High Commissioner, Steve McCready, says this is just one of the means through which the United Kingdom's government is helping other nations cope with the negative impact of the pandemic.
To date, the UK has contributed £548 million, or just over 2 billion Eastern Caribbean dollars, to COVAX. Equally as important has been the UK's global influence, implemented through our policy and persistence in encouraging other donors to support the mechanism. And of course, UK science has played an integral role in development of the vaccines. Along with COVAX, the total UK aid commitment to fighting the pandemic globally is now £1.3 billion. The UK government understands the global pandemic requires a global solution, and that until we all defeat the virus, no one will.
The Pan American Health Organization's country manager, Dr. Reynold Hewitt, says COVAX is a demonstration of the nations of the world coming together for the common good.
Today, the Pan American Health Organization, as a procurement agency for the COVAX facility, is delivering the first allocation of 24,000 doses to the Ministry of Health and the government of St. Lucia. Access to COVID-19 vaccines should not be a privilege for the few, but a right that we all share regardless of who we are and where we are from. PAHO is supporting countries in distributing COVID-19 vaccines to their populations building on their long-standing experience with vaccination campaigns and immunization programs. Around 142 million people have received at least one dose of vaccines in the Americas as of April 1. That is 26% in Latin America and the Caribbean. As our PAHO director, Dr. Carissa Etienne, recently mentioned, immunization in Latin America and the Caribbean should be a global priority, and our region needs vaccines as much as possible to vaccinate as many persons as possible and to save as many lives. The arrival of COVAX vaccine in our region and today in St. Lucia is a historic milestone, as well as a combination of months of negotiations and commitment to global solidarity.
The Minister for Health, Senator Mary Isaac, says the arrival of the COVAX batch of some 24,000 doses marks a significant milestone in St. Lucia's efforts to combat the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic.
So today is a very momentous day. This occasion is a very momentous occasion, and today is a very special day that we are seeing that the COVAX mechanism, the vaccines through that mechanism is unfolding. This is the first part of the vaccines. We're supposed to be receiving 75,000, I believe. So I am sending out the message that we need to continue to vaccinate. As you can see, the staff of the Ministry of Health, they have produced all these beautiful placards. They have their T-shirts, so their heart and soul is into it, and they are the ones who know about the science. So let us follow in those footsteps and ensure that we get all ourselves vaccinated so that we can get our country back on track.
To date, St. Lucia has given the first dose to 1/8 of its targeted population for the receipt of the vaccination. The arrival of the first COVAX batch of 24,000 doses with another consignment expected before the end of March will provide a spring in the step of the campaign to get more than 120,000 residents fully vaccinated. Stanley Lucian for the HTS News Force.
We now bring you these international reports.
The US is considering sending money to Central Americans in an attempt to stem the flow of migration. A senior White House official told Reuters the program would aim to address the economic woes pushing people to move. There's been a steady increase in arrivals at the US-Mexico border in recent months. Some 168,000 people were picked up by US Border Patrol agents in March, the highest monthly tally in 20 years. Roberta Jacobson, the White House's Southern Border Coordinator, said the potential program will be targeted at people in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. She told Reuters, quote, "We're looking at all of the productive options to address both the economic reasons people may be migrating, as well as the protection and security reasons." Republicans have already hit out at the idea. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy said Friday that the idea was insulting to millions of Americans out of work. Republicans blame the recent surge in arrivals on Biden's decision to reverse former President Donald Trump's hardline immigration policies. Biden has instead called for $4 billion in development aid to Central America over 4 years to address the underlying causes of migration. On Friday, the White House requested $861 million from Congress for that effort in Biden's first annual budget proposal.
Disperse immediately or water cannon will be used.
Another night of violence in Belfast, with rioters hurling rocks and shooting fireworks at police. In turn, the police used water cannon on demonstrators for the first time in years. Pro-British loyalist residents feel increasingly cut off from the UK as Brexit provisions are implemented, with a customs border created between Northern Ireland and the British mainland, even though they are one country.
A lot of these kids have been failed by the education system, etc. They don't see any prospects in terms of employability.
Besides Brexit, there are other pressures on the community. Youth centres have been shut because of COVID restrictions. Northern Ireland's First Minister says criminal gangs are whipping up young people to commit violence. People are still angry about this event last year, which turned into a political scandal. Deputy First Minister Michelle O'Neill and more than 20 other Sinn Féin leaders attended a large funeral allegedly breaking the government's own rules to tackle coronavirus. Last week, the Public Prosecution Service said no one would be prosecuted for attending. To many pro-British loyalists, it appeared Sinn Féin and Republicans, who want a united Ireland, were above the rules. Some who lived through the Troubles are passing lessons and grievances to the next generation.
I don't think young people really understand the details in terms of the Irish sea border and stuff. I think what they're being told and what they're seeing reflected in the media is that Sinn Féin are winning, the Republicans are winning, and that our identity is under attack. And when they hear those words, when they hear that stuff, and then they're told, all right, and the way that you can help is by going out there and throwing bombs, sticks and stones at people, they're more than willing to do so.
The British, Irish and Northern Irish leaders have called for calm. The international community is growing worried about any potential unraveling of the Good Friday Agreement. But the recent clashes, a crisis for young people, are about far more than Brexit. Andrew Chappell, Al Jazeera.
As the military continues its crackdown on peaceful pro-democracy protesters, they're also now reneging on their own promises. A spokesman for the junta says although at the time of the coup they pledged to hold elections in a year, they now won't take place for 2 years. At the UN in New York, a meeting was held to give Security Council ambassadors a picture of the deteriorating situation.
Myanmar people feel that they are left alone to face the brutal regime, armed to its teeth, stocked from arms sold by the same international actors who preventing action.
The military has ignored our condemnations, posing a test for the Security Council. Will the Council quiver over language in yet another statement, or will we act to save the lives of the Burmese people?
Myanmar's UN ambassador, who opposes the generals, called for a no-fly zone, an arms embargo and targeted sanctions.
Please take action.
This meeting was organised by the UK. All Security Council members were invited, but it wasn't a formal Security Council meeting. Both China and Russia, which object to an official open meeting, only sent low-level diplomats. Not surprisingly, both countries seem opposed to any sanctions on the generals.
We share the same concern.
The main thrust of recent diplomacy has been in the region. Here, earlier this week, the Indonesian Foreign Minister meeting her UK counterpart. I'm told a meeting of the leaders of the 10 countries in the regional ASEAN group is likely in Indonesia in the next 2 weeks. But how do you persuade the generals to talk and to give ground? The UN Special Envoy, Christine Schraner Burgener, has had her permission to visit Myanmar denied. I'm told there are some countries that are contemplating the idea of appeasing the generals and giving them a future role in the governance of the country, something that would appall human rights activists and those protesting on the streets. James Bays, Al Jazeera, at the United Nations.
You were listening to the WinFM Headline News on 98.9. Our top stories were: PM Harris on St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Cabinet will be a good Samaritan. An update on the La Soufrière volcano in SVG. St. Lucia has received its first batch of 24,000 Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine doses under the COVAX facility. Internationally, the U.S. is considering a conditional cash transfer program to help address economic woes that lead migrants from certain Central American countries to trek north, a senior White House official told Reuters. Thank you for listening.
That was the WinFM Headline News. The Headline News was brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, and Caribou.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs, and make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, Dalil Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
People make the world go
At The Cable, we know being local means supporting our own, and our customers deserve the best. Our customers deserve platinum. So now, all customers of The Cable qualify for our new Platinum Loyalty Card. An elite MasterCard experience that lets you support your own like never before. Instantly send money to any Platinum Loyalty member at home or around the world. Shop online or in person anywhere MasterCard is accepted. Save with no interest and 0 annual fees. And the best part? If you're a Cable customer, you are already pre-approved. Just visit the Cable building in Basse-Terre or sign up online at www.thecable.net. Get your Platinum Loyalty Card today because you deserve platinum. Terms and conditions apply.
It's Easter, and it's time to hunt your prize. Come and celebrate Easter at the City Drugstore Nevis. Here are the rules. 1. Visit the store. 2. Browse for what you want and browse some more. 3. Choose wisely, and if you present a product with special clues, you win. Prizes include discounts, TDC gift cards, sweet treats, and much more. What's Easter without some shopping fun? So visit the City Drugstore this Easter and win big in our Hunt Your Prize promotion.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go
All right, good afternoon and welcome back to Inside the News. We are hosting with, today is a special Inside News with Alarm Clock in partnership with Win FM. So again, if you're just joining us, we have been discussing restructuring a post-COVID-19 economy, and today we're focusing on the digital economy. Our panelists have given us a lot to think about so far about, moving St. Kitts and Nevis towards more digital services. And we actually got some questions during the break, but so I'll actually just bring one at the moment and then we'll move forward and I'll bring up the other one later in the show. But it was for Tishon. Someone asked about the redundant ISPs having to have internet from two different sources so that if one drops, you don't feel the break in connection. So the question was, who really needs that? What types of businesses do you see need that? Why would that be necessary why would it be necessary to incur that cost? Okay.
Very easy answer. If you accept credit cards, it's processed over the internet. Mm-hmm. So when internet drop, you can't get paid.
Okay.
So do you want to get paid?
Mm-hmm. All right. So it's just a backup, It is. It's a backup, but it's literally your life. Literally, just imagine you have a business open. And out of your control, the ISP internet goes down because there was an accident and somebody knocked down a post.
Or backhoe dig up the cable.
And the backhoe dig up the cable. And that company internet went down. And you're going to close your business because now the person just came with a big cat, $1,000, and they don't have no cash and they only have a credit card to pay. You're going to say...
interestingly then, perhaps we should be having the discussion about electricity and internet.
No, but this is something out of your control. There was an accident.
Yeah, right.
Because electricity could be resolved too. You have a UPS, you have
generators, right.
Yeah, those are redundancy for electricity. So the same thing, you have to have redundancy for your whole business process.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think...
Go ahead.
Okay. So I think to add to that, just to kind of add some flesh to Tishon's answer, as difficult as it is, because Tishon gave a good answer. You want to consider the criticality of your business and the type of business that you operate and how much downtime can you afford. And Tishon raised a very good point. If yours is the type of business that accepts payments, so if I'm a supermarket and while I'm there transacting in the middle of the day on a Saturday, which I'm certain is the biggest shopping day in the week for us here in a place like St. Kitts and Nevis, maybe around the world, if I am unable to accept credit card payments or any payments for that matter, then I may as well just close my doors because I cannot transact. And so it comes down to your own business, the type of business you operate, how critical your services are, and how much uptime you really need. Maybe it's the type of business that could afford a little downtime, Maybe you just have a blog and maybe for maybe maybe an hour and a half, you don't need to be up because persons could read your views when the service comes back online and there's no harm, no foul. But if it means that people's lives and livelihoods depend on you and people need to transact, then maybe you need to consider having a redundant internet service connection.
So why the customer really asks? Because what they see is all they see is an increase in cost. Yeah. And they say,
yes.
How much does it cost? First of all, like I said, the load balancer is a one-time cost. So the setup may cost you $1,000, $1,500 for one-time setup. Your recurring cost is just your extra internet. So you're paying $200 for one internet connection. you pay extra $200 for a second internet connection. So
Yeah,
that's
like,
all.
And to piggyback on her comment in terms of how important, how critical service that you offer. Like on my end, I manage and I provide support to these applications that we build, especially a lot of them that deals with online payment. And so for me, I have a 3-tier backup. So there's the load balancing between the
Both
ISPs,
is.
and then I have LTE.
Okay, separately.
And the LTE as well is using both Flow and Digicel.
Mhm.
Even me, when I'm on the go, I actually have a device in my bag right now that have both Flow and Digicel.
Internet balanced out.
So I mean, it depends on how critical your business is. So I try to make sure that at any time, like, I always have internet access, no matter where I'm at.
Okay, so I hope that satisfies the listener, and you think beyond the cost, but think about the returns and the safety and security that having redundant ISPs would bring. We had extended an invitation to Mr. Alex Strawn of JAD. I think most people are familiar with Alex. He has a extensive career in financial regulation and digital fintech. Essentially, he's very versed and is one of the top names of people who you always think about when we talk about digital transformation and progressing in the digital economy. But because he's so busy, we couldn't get him to come today. But he did send us some responses based on the question. The question was about our readiness to progress into a fully functional digital economy. So let's hear some Alex's response.
I found your question to be quite, I don't want to use the word vexing, but interesting and not necessarily easy to answer. In my opinion, what we need to do to get us to a properly functional digital economy has to do with not just one size solution, but a combination of solution involving the facilitation by the government, the facilitation by regulators, creative space, as well as infrastructural changes. If I am to take them in turn, if we were to start, the environment requires a particular policy-driven initiative where the government recognize that the majority, a lot of the economic activities being created by small businesses, etc. And these are the people who least can afford to access expensive services, expensive technology, etc. Even in terms of registration and regulation, the licensing regime is simply one size fits all. Come, get a business license, operate. It doesn't facilitate the gig economy. It doesn't, they don't consider innovative. And most time than not, the government typically takes a stance of being punitive rather than perhaps saying, let's register. You just pay a registration fee. If the business above this side, then you come into a more formal structure where you have licensing. And so you don't have that consideration or balance between how do you get people from the shadow economy into the formal economy, etc. And so at the first glance, these persons are not in any way have access to formal accounts, formal ways of doing stuff, proper documentation, proper training, etc. That's two. In terms of infrastructure, it is my belief and that the digital economy is broad, meaning all things being considered, whether you are operating a gig, a hobby, whether you're operating a formal business, you must have access to, and persons must have access to you. So it is that ability where persons can transact, view, engage in a frictionless environment that I would view as the digital economy. Now, if persons can't access it, meaning that it's either too expensive, they don't have internet, they don't have the appropriate infrastructure, it means then no matter how many creative ideas come up, the persons who you intend to reach, you would not reach. Crucial to the digital economy is the internet infrastructure. And there are a lot of persons who are up and down with their phone and they don't have data because the data is either expensive. And then there are many persons who don't have perhaps internet in their homes. And so the question would be, if we don't come to a point where we have everyone with broadband access, or even if you were to look in the context of the holy grail that most persons are after right now, what we call the 5G, where people are perpetually connected. If everyone is not connected, then if say a huge percentage of the population is not connected, then you can't really truly have a digital economy, because you need that infrastructure in place first and foremost, where people are, let's just call it connectivity. One additional thing I would like to posit is that for a properly functioning digital economy, we as people need to learn to collaborate. Many hands make work light, and one of the things, rather than one person trying to build or one person trying to do everything, or one entity rather trying to do everything and be all things to all people, a properly functioning digital economy either would have a serious monopoly or great collaboration, where everyone has the opportunity to contribute to solutions. So for example, excellent processors, excellent creators, content creators, you have developers who could take, who give you the infrastructure for that sort of content. You have the persons to help you pay for that sort of content. You have that sort of exchange. You have artists. You have the ambience. But collaboration is going to be a crucial element in terms of a properly functioning digital economy. I may not do that. I may not have done it justice in terms there are many things going through my head, and I'm trying to just get them out. But it is my personal belief that one size doesn't fit all, and that there needs to be room at the table for everyone, and for the digital economy to actually not just grow, but actually really blossom.
All right, and just quite on cue, we have a call. Good afternoon, caller. Okay. All right, so we're going to get your responses. We're gonna get the responses from the panelists, in terms of your thoughts on what Alex said, but more so your own grade. Remember when we broke at midday? I asked each of you to come up with a grade in terms of, on a scale of 1 to 10, our readiness. And what grade would you give us now? And then what do you think we need for us to progress? Assuming nobody's going to give a 10. Wait, now we have the caller. Let's hear from the caller. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. This is America, the trustee, partner, IT, everything, Jennifer, brother. Good show. I just wanted to contribute by asking a question pertaining to how businesses can really thrive in an environment where software is a bit cost prohibitive. I mean, Tishan, you can speak to this. I mean, how many times you go in and you see people using cracked versions of Microsoft Office and that kind of a thing? How do they really thrive with access to those applications? Is going to require maybe a subscription or a cost that might not be readily available for them. And by doing that, and this now goes to Janelle, puts themselves at risk, because we all know crack copies do not necessarily have the patches that the vendors would have sent out once they find vulnerabilities. So how do we really get businesses to migrate away from understanding that, it's good, you can get up and running with crack software, but the right way to do it is this way. But it comes with a barrier. What's the move? And this is kind of piggybacking on what you played with that person who made that recording. Piggybacking on that. All right? So
Okay.
That's it. I'll listen after that. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so yeah, so the cost, I guess, this is Tishan and Janelle. I think part of the question was referred to you as well. The cost of software. How do we get around that?
What really it takes is really, it's not really about the cost. The cost is really a symptom that we throw on, but it's really a culture. We just have to understand that if you're going to, people who make the software need to be paid.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to get a crack software,
Said the software
you're
people.
basically stealing. You're stealing software, and then nobody's being paid. And if nobody is being paid, then how do we encourage people to go into programming and technology?
Mm-hmm.
So really, and not only that, as a business, you pay for a lot of other services that just can't be cracked. You can't crack the gas station, so you're going to pay for your gas. You can't crack certain physical things, so you go and pay for them. If you start to change the mindset of software, look, this is the cost of business. So basically, you have to factor in the cost of software into your service or your product.
Right.
I would add to that, though, that yes, cost could sometimes be prohibitive, but there are admirable, freely available versions of popular digital tools. I mean, there are the open offices of the world as free alternatives to the Microsoft suite of products. So these are...
I don't like to encourage free.
Well, it's not free in the sense that someone is being deprived. They were designed for those who find cost
Someone has
prohibitive.
foregone their payment.
No, we have to expose them to the alternatives, but free changes the mindset. If you're a businessman, you should be willing to pay
for what you need,
services.
right? Yes.
Because people are paying for your services.
Agreed.
And you need to understand your costs. Because if you're saying, I only want to use something that is free, but yet you're not giving away your service for free, understand your cost. As a culture, we need to change our mindset and be like, for example, the subscription model have really helped in terms of the cost, because Microsoft Office used to cost $400 as a one-time.
A one-time cost.
Now it's a subscription,
which is a lot more manageable at a month.
for $100, which is $270, and that subscription allows you to use it on 5 different devices.
Right. Yeah.
So your costs have significantly been reduced, so they've helped in that way. And not only that, I mean, which is you're going to speak to, usually in order to get the cracks, the people that are providing you the crack services are also injecting malicious software into your computer and opening a backdoor and stealing your information. So nothing is really free. So even the free software you're selling, you basically say, come in, like, hey, take it for free, but I'm going to give you a key to my back door, so when I'm sleeping in the night, you can come and take out everything you want out of the fridge. You end up paying more.
Yeah, well, my input on that.
Yes.
So I used to use crack software. I mean, I think all of us used to.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started developing my own, is when I really understood, like, what is involved. Like, I have a product that I worked on for 5.5 years building it out. And I'm thinking, like, after spending 5.5 years, right, and somebody's going to tell me that they want to use it for free. Like how can I get a return on my investment, right? So I think I agree with Tishan in that it's a cultural thing, and I do encourage, like every software that I use now is paid, because I do understand what is involved in providing these solutions, right? And I think from a business perspective, persons just need to understand that is something, just like how you have to pay your electricity, you have to pay rent if you're renting a space. Having a proper software is just an additional expense that the business have to undertake to be able for you to be able to do what you need to do.
Right.
Now, I do agree as well with the fact that the subscription model has helped a lot with easing on the costs.
The
right?
cash flow.
So it's you move from a one-time large cost to recurring, and in fact, you actually pay more, right? Over time, you actually pay more, but you do benefit from but you do benefit from the licenses and the updates
and
that come with them.
gradual upgrades as well.
Right.
Okay.
I just wanted, don't get me wrong, I'm not encouraging the use of cracked software. Ladies and gentlemen, do not use cracked software. It is famously teeming with vulnerabilities. It is unpatched. It is like opening up a back door to your software, your devices, your private data, as Tishan rightly mentioned. I am not encouraging the use of that. I'm saying, though, that everyone is not at the same place. So I'm saying that hopefully, my hope is that someone just starting out in the business that they're starting out in, maybe they have little resources, and maybe they need the money that they could spend on a digital tool, they save it and use a freely available one online, not a cracked one. The ones that are made available for free online, like OpenOffice or LibreOffice, I think it's called. They're made by internet purists who believe that no one should be deprived of digital tools because they don't have the money to afford it.
But it's more for home users, and as you said, people starting out.
Agreed. So my hope is, so here's my hope. I'm not saying that should forever and always be the tool that you use. I'm saying that if that is what you need to get you to a point where you could then afford a more substantial solution that you would now pay for, then by all means use that to get yourself to that point. But it doesn't necessarily mean using cracked software.
I
don't
understand,
encourage using cracked software.
but even with the open source, there's a security element to it that most people, on the face of it, are missing. One of the reasons why enterprise application is able to operate in an environment and get paid, you have a team of programmers supporting it, patching zero-day vulnerability.
That needs to be paid.
When you have free software, even if it's not cracked, freely given, the support for it is free also.
Correct.
And so they're not patched as often.
Correct. Well,
so if you go 5
correct.
years and then there's a vulnerability that's not patched for 5 years because there's nobody paying for it, so therefore there's no incentive to keep patching it up and down. And so if you're a business using free software that there's a vulnerability for 5 years and somebody exploits you through that hole, then you leave yourself open also.
Well, I think you guys have given the caller a lot of things to consider, but we have half an hour left, and I want us to really go into the exercise about our readiness and what we need. So we'll spend the next half an hour exploring that, because I see from this panel we could go on and on and on and on, but we really want to come with some really strong recommendations. So Gina, let's start with you. Where would you grade us now?
Towards a digital economy, I would say by all means we are not fully functional in that regard just yet. I would offer us a grade 5. It's like middle of the road, based on the fact that we have achieved a few things. We do have a lot more work to do. So the backbone of a digital economy is connectivity. And while we do have some connectivity and a lot of our populace does have access to internet, we want to make sure that more of our populace, more of our citizenry have access to meaningful internet, the kind of internet that would really allow you to transform yourself digitally. And I think we have some work to do in that regard. Digital skills, we touched on it earlier. I think there's a lot to be done along the lines of digital skills in order for us to be able to operate in the digital economy. We have made some steps. I know that we have various stakeholders working on various things, building digital skills through hackathons, coding camps, robotics programs, but more could always be done. I also know there's talk at the government level to relook the curriculum to introduce digital skills and coding skills. I hope that's not just talk, because it's absolutely necessary. It's now mandatory if we're moving towards operating in a digital economy, if we're moving towards digital transformation. And I think it shouldn't stop at just curriculum development along the lines of digital skills. The teachers also need to be taught digital skills as well, because there's no way that they could teach along the lines of a digital agenda if they themselves are not tech savvy. There's also legislation. I know that we have some digital related legislation in place. There's definitely more that could be enacted, but the fact that we have some is all the more reason why I would give us a 5 in our pursuit of a digital economy. And just to go back to digital skills a bit, the digital skills are not just that I speak of, are not just along the lines of basic digital literacy, but skills along the lines of emerging technology. Because it's not enough now, at least where I sit, for us to just learn how to build a website. In order for us to just learn how to build an app, we now have to look at emerging technology, artificial intelligence, robotics, 3D printing. We now have to look at the next step and building skills in that regard, because the digital space is not stagnant. And so we have to move just as the digital space is moving. I'll leave it there for now before I take up all the all the air in the room.
Okay, Desi?
All right. I'm gonna go with I agree.
What's your grade?
A lot with hold on.
Oh, sorry.
I agree a lot with what Janelle said. I am actually at number 5 as well. And for the fact that we do have some infrastructure, we do have some policy, but for me, a lot of what I want to talk about here is the simple, do we have the means of becoming fully digital? So, for example, we spoke about businesses having to pay for subscriptions. Do we have the cash to be able to do everything that's necessary to get all the support and the talent and the infrastructure that we need to help businesses and to help a lot of other institutions to transform their manual habits into digital habits? And the next thing is, do we have the willpower or desire to do it? And I want to highlight here something that the Inter-American Development Bank has said, that the digitization of services has the potential to boost inclusive economic growth. And I'm not just talking about businesses, I'm talking about people in general. According to recent estimates, investment in digitization of infrastructure services increase the population's income in general. But in addition, it does so in an inclusive manner. So for each 1% increase in income at the 40% highest income population, the increase of the 2 poorest quintiles is 1.16%. To take advantage of advanced technology, the Latin American and the Caribbean countries will have to develop their digital connectivity a lot more, structure, which requires the development of digital agenda and national plans with broadband. I mean, they're going to talk to a lot more technical aspects, but I know for sure that if we understand what these benefits are, we will, it's a cultural thing as well. It's not just about the infrastructure, because we do have a lot of things in place to help us to begin to move towards a more digital economy, but we just need the willpower and desire to do so.
All right. Tishan?
Okay, I'll be a little bit more hopeful than what it is, because I'm in the field. I think we're further along than we think.
Okay.
I'll put us between a 6 and a 7, to tell the truth.
6.5.
6,
okay.
Yeah, 6.5, right, yeah. Because a lot of what is lacking is just support. We have the skills. We have people. We have more people outside of St. Kitts with IT skills contributing to other more developed, contributing their IT skills. Their Kittitians contributing their IT skills to more developed countries. Because if they come home, they cannot afford to eat. They cannot afford, they don't get paid for their services. because people are going to watch you and say, hey, I could do that, or I don't need that.
That's all you do?
Yeah, yes. And they don't understand the total impact of it. So what really needs to be done is really a cultural change at the top, at the executive level. What we really need is executive support. This is one of the reasons I started SK90 Solutions, to be the change you want to see in the world. And it's slowly happening. I'm doing my part in the private sector. I'm willing to help more government departments, just so that you know. Our number is 465-2731. Call SK90 Solutions anytime. We do a lot of work in the private sector. I think we could do a lot more with government. But our people are here. We have bright people. I know a lot of bright people in technology in St. Kitts. But they just can't get to do the work because the technology people are not the people in charge. Remember, technology, at the end of the day, is just a tool. It's just a tool that helps other businesses. At some level, it becomes its own industry, but the majority of technology is in assistance for you getting your business done. And actually, we do it cheaper, so you have less labor, you make more money. Use the technology. Your pocket will love you for it, along with your future self.
Okay, before we go to John, though, I think, Tishan, this might be a good point to bring up the other question that we got. Because you're promoting technology a lot, but the question was, if we continue along the path of the digital economy, how do we then compensate for the loss of physical interaction and the benefits that are derived from physical interaction?
This question happens every time, and it's not just technology related. When computers was introduced, they thought, everybody's going to lose their job, everybody working in the factory is going to be replaced. What eventually happens, new technology creates also new jobs and new career paths.
Mm-hmm.
So just like when everybody was in the industrial machine, the factories are shut down. People got new jobs.
Mm-hmm.
That's what will happen. As new technology is introduced, there will be new jobs, new opportunities. So anything that you lose will be equal. There will be other opportunities created.
Okay.
So there's no fear of loss or fear of being replaced by machines. Remember, we actually thought back in the 50s that we'll have so much luxury time. We have all this robotics that will replace us. We won't have to do any work.
Yeah.
We're actually working more.
Harder.
Yeah.
And longer.
Yeah, 24/7.
Yes.
24/7. I need a response now.
Yes.
Yes.
So just to go back to that question, Gianna, I wonder if the person asked the question from like a social standpoint, and that point you raised is a really good one.
that was, I was thinking that.
Yeah, but the point you raised is a good one, and we didn't touch on it in terms of what would happen to jobs as we approach a digital economy.
There
And
will
yes,
be
jobs go away, but jobs also come. And so you won't get at least in my opinion, you won't get the absolute cutoff of jobs and the unemployment that the tech naysayers speak of, But I think the question was asked more from a social standpoint. And I think as to whether or not embracing technology, oh Lord, you have a response to give.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
As it relates to your embracing technology and going digital and what that means for physical interactions. And I think it's important to make the point that when we're saying that you need to embrace digital and you need to go digital and you need to embrace the technology, we're not saying that you totally abandon physical. There would always be a place for physical interactions. So it's not saying that you shut down your physical presence altogether and you just operate online. You have to make a way for there to be a blended approach, so to speak, unless, of course, we're in the situation that we're in right now with COVID, where you're forced to be in place and there's absolutely no occasion for physical interactions. But I think the best approach would be to evaluate what your business is, what you offer, and see how you could offer a blended approach to it. Use the technology while still offering a physical presence and maintaining a physical
I don't think anything will ever beat human interaction.
Correct.
So you
I
just
agree.
still have to prioritize it in your operation. So make sure you still get to see your customers. But in any event, if when you go see them face to face, you could always just send them a little the QR code that they could scan and they get access to something else. So even using physical interaction to support or supplement your digital services.
Correct.
So, but if you look at it as well, what is the difference between us sitting down physically and talking when most of the times when you're in a group, everybody's on the phone?
Well, true, but I don't think most of us
Right?
I don't think most of us accept that as, well, let me not say most of us. I don't accept that as desirable.
I've been in social events where I'm sitting down and I'm actually messaging the person next to me. I mean, but yeah, I mean, I totally agree and I understand the concern, but just like everything else, we adapt, right? And so I think the fear is not really necessary. You know, we just need to adapt and we'll figure things out.
Okay.
In terms of my grade,
Yes, your grade,
is
yes.
it possible for me to split my grade into two types of grade?
Oh gosh, you had to go complicated.
Yeah, and the reason why I will explain. So there is a grade from the consumer perspective, the general population, and then
Okay.
there's a grade for the business solutions, right? So I would grade the business solutions a bit lower than the consumer, and the reason why I say that is, well, at least let me give me grades first.
Yes.
So I would grade from the consumer perspective a 6.5, and I would do business a 5.5. So it's pretty close, and I'll explain why I have different grades. So not too long ago, we used to use, for example, digital solutions as somewhat of a bonus feature, right? Remote working was a perk for special employees. Church and other organizations encourage you to congregate so that you could have an experience. And in 1 year, all that was turned upside down. So in 1 year, we had to change what we considered the norm into something new, right? And we've had to adapt. And so that's one of the reasons why I grade the consumers higher, because I find that, I mean, even persons that I don't even expect to be interested or have any level of interest when it comes to the digital economy had to find ways to do it. Just this morning, I watched a church had a virtual water baptism.
Okay.
I'm like, you understand?
And now everybody's sending the links for the funeral now.
Funerals,
Yeah.
weddings,
Yes.
and those things. So we've found ways to adapt. And when you look at when we actually had the lockdown, there were solutions that are available that persons could have shopped online. They could have gotten their stuff delivered. You had cashless stuff being presented, new businesses coming online that provided opportunities. And the reason why, again, I grade the consumers higher is that we were able to rally around and adapt to those businesses and use them, right? Now, when it comes to the business solution, I kind of agree a lot with what what's his name? Alex mentioned. He made a lot of really valid points. One, from the business perspective, the environment needs an upgrade. The environment needs to evolve. Businesses, it's difficult, and it goes back to the point that Tishan was also making, that there are a lot of digital technical resources that are offshore. Persons that find it very difficult to come home and get opportunities, or even if they want to create their opportunities, they are concerned about if the market is ready to accept those. And I mean, I myself experienced some of that, but you have to be resilient, and you have to push when you're doing these kind of things. So the environment does definitely needs to be enhanced. Infrastructure is a very difficult one to discuss without being very passionate about it. And I look at it from two perspectives: one, online solutions, and two, virtual experience. So let's look at online solutions. As we said earlier, I think it was in an offline conversation, but for you to be able to operate online, internet infrastructure, bandwidth is very important. Same thing for virtual experience. If you open a conference call, if you're watching a live stream, if you're communicating online, bandwidth is paramount, and so that is something that needs working on without going into too much details. I mean, right now, all of the ISPs I think are at 4G, but 4G is like when we used to be on 2G, you know what I mean, or 3G. So there's some limitations, and of course 4G is not fully 4G throughout the island, right? And so those are things that needs to be worked on. Now, education as well is very important, because as a service provider, especially for live streaming events, you find that the persons that are using the service are not as educated as they should be. Where somebody will put up the live stream and it's ticking and they complain that, something wrong with the stream. I can't get to watch. And whereas it is very possible that the service might have some issues, it is also equally possible that there's issues on the person that's connecting end. And so there needs to be some level of education so persons understand what is involved when I go on a Zoom call, what is involved when I actually watch a live stream, and how can my internet bandwidth or my network setup infrastructure, Wi-Fi, how can that affect what I am experiencing, or my overall online experience. And the last thing I'll point to is actual solutions. And Alex made the same point that if you don't have enough innovation and enough persons that are providing solutions, then you have a difficulty where, one, you either end up in a situation where there's a monopoly, or two, because there's limited service, then you try to find a one-size-fits-all kind of solution that doesn't really work for everybody else, right? And so innovation needs to be thriving within in a digital economy, because that's what developers do. They provide or they find solutions to our everyday common issues, right? And so that I don't see happening as much. Even myself sometimes get lazy. One, you look at the return on investment, you look at the potential of what you're creating, and if the market is actually ready to adapt. Like, for example, I have a platform called ePay that I built out. As I said, took me nearly 6 years to create. It is a platform that acts as a digital extension to content creators and media organizations, provide a bunch of tools, live streaming, pay-per-view, video on demand, and all of these things. And that literally was sitting down for years because I just couldn't find an opportunity to present it in the market. Or even if I did, there weren't enough persons that would buy onto it. So it's like it's literally sat there. And then, COVID came around. I was like, okay, maybe it's an opportunity for me to kind of present it and see where it goes from there, right? So innovation is something that definitely needs to thrive within the economy to kind of get things going. But I think generally we are on a good path. We're a small society, and there are cultural changes, cultural hurdles that we need to get over. Just in the break, someone messaged me and they were like, well, my parents prefer to go and stand up in the line, the bank line, for half an hour, because they can more than likely they're gonna find somebody that they ain't see for a long time, and then they could have a conversation.
And they want a book.
Yeah, you understand what I'm saying? But there is also the possibility of finding a balance, because with a with a split kind of population that we have, we're a combination of young and older folks, and those who are not too young or not too old, you would find that sort of demand where persons prefer one way versus the other. And so I think there is an opportunity to present something kind of unique that we can do digital with hand in hand with
so we
how
have
things are
to
going.
so we have to acknowledge the difference in needs
Yes.
and preferences, somehow just not going all the way or solely digital then.
Right.
So there's still
But the services need to be available for those who choose to go.
yes.
to-
So we need more focus for those who choose to go digital.
Right.
Yes,
And-
I agree.
And generally, just to go back on one thing, in a point that Alex made back to the environment aspect of it, to provide online solutions can be very costly. And when I say it's very costly, especially if it is something that is custom to your business. And generally, that's a difficulty that I have as a service provider, is to try to explain to the person that, listen, if you have a software solution that is generic, and I can just give it to you and you use it and it fits your business, then it costs you less than if you come and tell me you want something specific to your business that needs to be built out. And I think a lot of business have a difficulty with understanding that. And of course, the cost that is surrounds that in terms of the time it takes to develop, what it takes to support it, and what is involved to keep it up and running. You take, for example, an online payment solution. You're looking at several tiers of business operations that you need to manage and maintain, and it costs. Right? Just take one level. The processing of credit cards, you're looking at two levels of services there. You're looking at one, the actual processing of the card, right? And then the second thing would be the banks and what you have to pay to have a merchant account, right? But then here in that solution provides an opportunity for somebody to provide a solution that can then reduce costs for the smaller business that can't afford a custom solution.
It is, oh boy, this clock will not slow down.
Yeah, I know,
man.
right?
it's just that this conversation could
Ask for 15
really,
more minutes.
No, this conversation could really go for so long. And I think you guys have offered some considerations that we need in terms of what we need to progress digital economy. The innovation, the issues about universal connectivity and regulations, and I like the suggestion from Alex about collaboration between service providers.
Yes.
Because I think you'll recognize that perhaps you may not be as skilled in one area, but teaming up. I've seen a lot of partnership between Tishan and John. Teaming up where you accept that this is not your forte, but somebody else who can offer that service. But one of the things that I personally wanted to see from this or to say for this discussion is that I find that people who work in IT, they are the quietest. They stay in the background. Nobody knows who you are, because I cannot tell you who the IT persons are in St. Kitts and Nevis. Outside of Tishan and John, I don't know anybody else. I find that there's so many people doing these things and supporting. So I've even wondered if there is enough. Do we have enough people in IT? Because I remember during election period last year, like everywhere I went, I saw John. John was doing streaming for every political party, for every event.
Yeah, don't do that.
No, but I'm just saying though. I'm saying, like, I've often wondered, do we have, everyone has said that I think Janelle was the one who mentioned that, and Tishan, you said we have the people. But I'm out here in the public and I'm like, well, who are these people? So is it that there's an opportunity for our IT persons to become more vocal in the progression of a digital economy? Like, because you guys are the ones who are going to have the answers and who are going to have the information to say, these are the benefits that that can be derived from us making this move. This is going to be led by you. I'm really putting it on you all. It's going to have to be led by you. And I feel as though you guys perhaps are so busy working that you're not really putting enough into the advocacy. So that's something that I would really, that's my personal plea to the IT community.
Hold on. Jenny, you're going to allow me 30
Sure.
seconds to defend myself?
30 seconds.
So you're right. But there's one thing to point out, right? And it's something I spent a lot of time on, which is a lot of research and development. A lot of persons, they might see me around and they see me dodging around. But I spend a lot of time on research and development. And take, for example, my streaming platform. I built that out from end to end. There's no third-party implementation in my process.
Right.
Everything I own, and even the devices that I'm using are OEM. That means I actually went to a manufacturer. I told them exactly what I need, and they charged me, and they built it specifically for me. So in doing that, overall, I was able to benefit from that because I have full autonomy of the process. There are many other persons who do very similar to what I'm doing, but they use third-party services that is a black box, and if something happens, they don't know what happened, and they can't fix it. Right, so that still comes back to the same solution and innovation point that I was making. That we as service providers as well have to become innovative and find solutions that can work in the environment that we're working within.
And also, when it comes on to Jan is risk. I mean, you see, there's two IT people you're talking about. There's IT, the job and the skill, because there's a lot of skill here. And there's this IT business, which is risk. And most people are risk averse.
I got you.
Yep.
It took a lot of risk for me to start an IT company. Because an IT company is expensive to run, extremely. When mistakes happen, you have to be able to cover and survive. And I think that's why there is not a lot more what you're saying, advocacy.
IT business.
Yeah.
Okay.
And let me just add to the point I was making, because I'm just here thinking about it. I remember when I was building out that same model that I spoke about. I flew to Miami, spent 7 days, met with manufacturers, went to a few conferences that they had, right? And that was at my cost. I had to pay for that. I had to pay the flights. I had to pay place to stay, eat. I had to pay for the conference.
And not knowing if you can sell yet.
You have no idea, right? You have no idea. And it's not that I have money. It's just that you have to take the risk.
We're willing to take a chance.
You have to take the risk.
Just
right?
like any other business.
Yep.
You have to take the risk.
You have to take the risk.
John, I need you more in the public. I think your story is something that it would inspire a lot of people to take more action. So we're gonna find more ways. Trust me, and Desi, to find ways to put you more in the public.
Well, you guys have 3 or 4 more episodes, and I can't see how I'm going to input on that, so that's fantastic.
No, that's three, but we have 3 more episodes in the series.
Yes.
But then after the series, we could always find more things to come up with, and particularly for Janelle as well, as we don't see a lot of women in the area as well, so we're gonna find more ways. You guys are going to be hearing from us so much more. It's not even funny because I think from COVID we've realized the need for more digital services. If we saw it as a need, but I think now we're getting accustomed to paying bills through our app, and we're getting accustomed to not having to stand in long lines and not having to come in and fill out a form and things like that.
Thank
so
goodness.
yeah, so at least those of us who appreciate the progression of the digital economy, we will have those services. But guys, it is 1:31. So I will just give everyone 30 seconds to wrap up, and we will bring Inside the News in partnership with Alarm Clock to a close.
I could start?
John, yes.
Yeah, sure. Well, let me start by thanking both you and Desi for the opportunity. I'm normally in the background. I like being in the background. But it was a great experience, and it's something that I'm passionate about. So I didn't have any reservations in accepting the opportunity to
we
talk
thought
about
we were going to have to beg.
No, like I
ready to bring food
like
and
within
everything.
seconds I was like, yeah, it's fine. But yeah, I mean, I think the topic is great, and I'm happy that we were able to have this kind of conversation, and I think it's something that we should probably pick up again, and just to encourage everybody that we are on our way, and to every opportunity that you get to try to utilize some sort of digital service, whether it is from a business or personal standpoint, because that's where we are going. And I'll end where I started, where the digital experience is not the new norm; it is the norm.
All right, Janelle.
Yeah, I want to echo the sentiments of John. I mean, I appreciate being invited to speak today. I feel similarly, as much as sometimes I shy away from public speaking opportunities, I couldn't resist speaking on the issue of technology and moving towards a digital economy. So thanks for reaching out and inviting me. I think we covered a lot, as John mentioned. I like that we were able to begin to socialize the idea of digital transformation and a digital economy, because moving towards a digital economy is indeed transformative, and it's not something that would happen overnight. It requires a change in culture, as John said numerous times. If we have to speak to it, we have to speak to the advantages of moving towards a digital economy. We can't just assume that persons would understand and move along willingly. There's a lot of change management that goes into it. So we have to continuously work at it. Thanks for setting up this panel for us to begin to speak about it. And I look forward to more opportunities to engage and to push the digital agenda.
All right, Tishon?
Oh, okay. Just want to thank Jan and Desi again for inviting me. And just like as John said, I actually believe in our people and in our intelligence. It's the reason I started Escalated Solutions, when I see a lot of foreigners here doing IT work, that I think we're bright enough we could do it. We're important people.
Right.
I see it as my national duty to make us more digital, because it's the one thing a SDA, a small island developing state, can do and compete with bigger countries without leaving. By using your brain power, we could compete and we could be on the same stage with the US, with Russia, with anybody, because we have people and we have human resource that we could build up easily and do. And so this is what I want to encourage, and I'm willing to help in any way to advance our technological skills, our ideas. I know it takes more than skill to do it, because everything takes follow through. I can't tell you how important project management is. Lots of things start and don't get completed. That is what we are good at. That is what SK90 Solutions is good at. And I'm willing to help anybody who's willing to see through the end of getting technology solutions played out and rolled out properly.
All right. Desi?
Thank you guys for this discussion. I'm feeling a bit re-energized, and I actually want to challenge this panel to move towards advocacy, because I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done on the ground to change mindsets, to be able to mobilize a lot more support, and so that we could really move into or transform our digital economy, so that we could become a lot more productive and, drive the economy in a way that we can all benefit from, because it could really benefit us in so many areas. I don't understand why it's so difficult, but I think there's a way, and I think through advocacy we could do that, and I hope that you guys could, come together and pull all the talented, very bright IT people and, have some conversations and do some work and get some information out there so that we could really transform the space. And I think it was a really good discussion.
All right. Well, I think it was a really good discussion. So I want to thank all of you for participating and agreeing. None of you gave us any trouble to say yes. And so I think we've given people some things to think about. We've certainly highlighted the need for a cultural mindset shift. And I think the way to normalize anything that we want to improve is to constantly talk about it, constantly show the benefits, constantly. So this can't be a one-time conversation. It has to be a recurring conversation and effort towards building the digital economy. So thank you to our panelists. Thank you to WinFM for allowing Alarm Clock to broadcast and have this discussion. We really appreciate the partnership. Thank you to John James for streaming us live on Facebook and YouTube, and all the persons who have been tuned in on social media. Thank you, and radio, because we still have lots of listeners who listen to the radio. So thank you so much for tuning in. We hope that you join us again on the 24th of April. That will be the episode 2 of the Restructuring a Post-COVID-19 Economy. And on the 24th, at the same time, we will be discussing the blue and green economies. So there we will be talking about the coastal, marine, and agriculture economy. So what do we need to do to progress those economies in a post-COVID-19 era? So it's been my pleasure to moderate today. I may not be moderated the next time. We have a team. So, we look forward to your partnership. But this has been a pleasure. And we look forward to you joining us here on Inside the News again on April 24th. But thank you again and have a good afternoon.
All right.
Thank you, Trent.